bullish hammer candle. Sorry, guys. Let me get back to that. If that happens again, I might have to cut it and then come back and then just record it later. Bear with me. So here it is again. All right, so you had a bullish engulfing, a narrow CPR, price came back over the yearly pivot, and you had a bull div on the 4 hours. That had everything you needed to take that trade there. As soon as it's over the CPR, you're in at 58, and you had to move up to 59, 59.5. You kept riding it up. You got up to 60K on that one. So this is what we're looking at, and then we're going to look at some coins that I want some coins that you guys have traded recently, and we'll see if we can see some recent ones like this. All right, so prices going up, had a nice move up here. It broke out right here, and then kind of retesting and consolidating into the narrow CPR, and then you can see what happened. Okay. The par, it's not coming off the bottom, but it's a continuation curling up here. Even if you waited for that 4 hour to really curl up, you're still getting in this area here. And let's say you got it really high, 61,222, which most people would think of that as a poor entry at the time. And then it went up about $3,500 after that. All right, so let's take a look. So you look for a big move up, and then you look for consolidation, typically 12 to 36 hours, and then you look for a narrow CPR. Now, I'll show you guys that you can do that on the 12 hour and the 4 hour on the CPR as well. Okay. Yeah, I'm all right. All right, so, all right, here we go. Well, this is a reversal. I wouldn't call this a consolidation, but you can look for reversals. You can look for consolidations. All three ribbons are coming out of the oversold, and you have the narrow CPR. And pretty much every time you guys have seen the narrow CPR, you've seen this kind of move. 54.4 to 58. Okay, so, all right, here's another one. All right, price is moving up, moving up. This is a sideways consolidation, didn't really come down much. And the par is kind of high. So maybe a lot of people following par might have been a little spooked on this one because all the time frames were high, but they were all pointing up, and the 4 hour pointing up pretty sharp. Plus you have the narrow CPR, but I won't count that. But this one I will, because here you have a nice consolidation pullback, narrow CPR, and then look at that. They all swoop down, creating some real estate up here. That was a good one right there. So with this one, you see above me, the blue and the red is the quarterly and a monthly pivot on the DeMarc. And we did bounce off the yearly. So this was a nice play right here. Pretty sure I got in that one, but I have to go back. So it bounced off the yearly. You had the swoop on all three time frames, and then it just went right through that narrow CPR and never looked back. And within like hours, you had 58.4 to 61. So I mean, these are nice moves. Going forward, I mean, I guess you could count this little consolidation. It's like a 1 day consolidation, narrow. And it had a nice move after it. Did dip a little bit because it wanted to retest those pivots. So that's why I keep those on. All right, move down. Reversal. All right. Plus you had the par gap right here. All right, let me point that out. Par gap is all this area, right? But you want to make sure everything's kind of curling up, which is happening right here. And you have the narrow CPR. So this is like another no-brainer trade for me. You have all the time frames pulling up, so this is telling you momentum's going up, guys. And you have the narrow CPR, which is telling you there's a trend day about to happen. And that is exactly what happened. We had 3-4 days up in a row.
I just want to point out too, there was a shakeout there too. Like that
here?
That red kit. Yep. That was trying to scare a bunch of traders.
And it bounced right off the top of the CPR. Now, a thin CPR will get violated a lot easier than the borders of a thick one, right? So just keep that. I mean, that's the theory. It's not always going to be perfect, but.
And just so everybody knows, the CPR stands for
Central Pivot Range. And if anybody has questions on a term, as far as charts or investments, go to Investopedia.com. They pretty much have everything covered.
Yeah, we also have our own in-house one. I'll link it now.
All right. Here's another one. Now, again, this isn't consolidation. It's a deep V reversal, but look at the real estate. Boom. All right, let's go build some houses in there. And you have a narrow CPR, and look at that. All right. Oh, here's a nice example too. All right, so big move up, consolidation for about a day and a half, narrow CPR. You have this swinging up again, all three ribbons, and there was your trade. Now, actually, the 4 hour was swinging up well before that huge ass candle. That candle was 62.6 to 64.3, almost $2,000 candle in an hour, and you had plenty of time to get in that.
Can you
so
do
not
me a
only
favor and pop up the market squisher?
Okay.
And I'm curious to see if that was one of those tightening ranges.
Okay.
That ended in a pop.
All right, let me pull it up.
Yeah, there's a dash there. Not so much. Not so much. The colon looking thing to the left is kind of what Astronaut Toad looks for.
Yeah. And you did get a good move down after that. But he likes it when it's on top and bottom better, right?
Yeah. It looks
and
like a
here
colon.
You got a really nice
like you're
move.
about to relieve yourself.
Exactly. All right.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I was going to say, when you do see a half a squeeze, like you just saw, in that range, a half a squeeze is good enough verification that there is accumulation or distribution happening. So it basically means you should not trust it in terms of the direction of the move that results. There's almost no indication of, hey, this is going to go up or down when you have only half of a squeeze and it's not really tightening. But when you see those orange patches there randomly, that is a good indication that something big is going there. A move will happen. So for example, that first lower half of a squeeze you see there, it's a signal that distribution is happening. There's a bit of a distribution pattern there before it dips.
Right.
And then there's another orange patch there as it falls. So you can basically say that distribution went straight from a distribution right back into accumulation.
Yeah.
And that's what you got. It faked
distributing with the narrow CPR, and it was a bullish setup too.
All right, let's.
Yeah, you get that narrow CPR and the fake out to the downside, and then it goes up.
Let's let Kermit finish his lesson here.
Yeah.
All right, so getting back to it, this consolidation here, narrow CPR, and like I said, you had that just enormous move, and you could have gotten in. I mean, here was 2 hours into the 4 hour already turning up, so you had plenty of time to get in. About 3-4 hours to get in before this candle, and then you could TP when these are starting to turn. So like right here, I mean that would have been a TP within a day at 62.6 to 66.3, almost 4,000 on that, and then you just put the rest stop at break even, or find a support level like maybe under this CPR to do that. So, all right, so here again, move up, consolidation, narrow CPR. Now it was already up a lot, so you're not going to get a lot more, and now we're getting near the all-time high, and this was just the other day, so I mean, here we are. So anyway, so I've got some coins, big time, AR, AVAX, APT, let me see, Ape. Can we get a non-A coin? Let's see, Ape.
Oh, real quick, Griffin Dev had to leave, so I was wondering if we could do big time and add him first.
Adam and big. You want to do Adam and big time?
Yeah, let's do those first. Because I'm gonna stamp it in the video, so
he's already out. He already left.
He's in chat. He said in crypto chat. He said, "I had to run. Thanks for the recording every session. Huge help. If you could still do big time and Adam for me, that would be great, so I can watch it later."
All right, let's do it.
Just to help a homie out. Show some love to you guys.
Oh, he was helping me with stocks today. So, all right, big time. All right, so it's getting a huge 3-day consolidation, but the this CPR is not that narrow, but this one is. But we've got a long way to go before we get to that. So that helps me have a lot of patience with these coins. So big time move up, long drawdown consolidation. You have a bull div on the 4 hour. All right, I'll draw it real quick. Boom, boom. It's a bull div on the 4 hour, and also so right there, you got the narrow CPR. I mean, this is like not even a half a penny wide. And then right here, as all three of these started turning up, you were pretty good to go right there. And even if you didn't, again, this is on the 1 hour, so even if you didn't catch, the first turn was right here, this green vector candle, which I can see with the CMP trader package. And then even if you got in 2-3 hours, you don't even have to get the best entry sometimes. And look at that move. Let's just see what the percentage was on that. 40% in less than a day. So that was pretty talked about in all the other groups too. And you had the setup. So here again, big time move up, right? Consolidation. Now, again, if you see a narrow CPR and the trend doesn't happen that day, the chance it's going to happen the next day is going to be about a 90%. And this is from my back testing. Somebody might get other results, but it's definitely way, way up there. That it either happens that day or the next day. So you wouldn't really get in along here, right? Because all of these are coming down. I mean, a par person's not going to along that. No. And then right here, it's starting to turn. You're like, okay, I'm interested. And right at this point, I bet you this was pretty narrow on the future. And even if you waited for candle open, okay, I'm going to wait for candle open because I want to be sure about this trade. And sure enough, it came down.
And just to clarify for everybody, the CPR on our indicator gives a future projection of what the next CPR is going to be. So it adjusts with price action. So that's what he's talking about when he's saying that when he's looking at the first narrow CPR, the second one is developing, and then that's what he's basing his assessment on.
Even if this one was wide, it wouldn't really matter because this one was narrow. If you guys have questions on that, write it down and ask me later. But because of this one being narrow, I'm expecting a trend, right? So, but being that this one was also narrow, now it's even like it heightens that expectation. But this didn't have to be. This could have been thick, but because this one was narrow, and when it's narrow, you expect a trending move that day. If not that day, the day after is like very, very, very likely, and that's what happened. And actually, this kind of started trending pretty much right after this one closed. Plus, you had all the par lines going up. So, to me, this was pretty obvious. And I know you're like, well, this has already happened. Well, this 4 hour, I bet you anywhere in here, this was obviously already printed upward. All right, but going back, here's a par gap. Okay, and these are my beloved. Let's take a look here. This is an obvious par gap right here. I mean, it's huge. You got all three right here, all scrunched together. You're ready to rock and roll. This is narrow enough. I mean, this is kind of medium, and this one is wide. This is not extremely narrow, but remember what I said about the day before. If it's narrow, you expect a trend either that day or the next, and the next is when that trend started. Plus, you had the par gap, so that was confluence, and then a nice bullish engulfing right here, showing reversal. I do read candles. I haven't really talked about it all that much, and I will one day. But this, when all three of these started going up right here, and then when the blue started to get narrow, this is where it really started to catapult. So that is big time. I'll probably just look at 3 spots on each coin. Let me look at Atom. All right, Atom. Shut that off. All right, now I don't have all the other pivots on here. For me, CPR is like 75% of what I think is important reading the pivots. I used to be way more into each pivot line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up and down, and they're still good. It's just lately I have the par, so if the CPR is set up with the par, take it. Right, so you look for a move up and then consolidation. Right,
let me just ask this: which indicator do you rely on more? Because I know you're an indicator-based trader. Which one do you rely on more, the pivots or par?
I would say for direction, probably par. But I don't know. It's probably 55% par, 45% pivots. I mean, I really, really love using them in combination.
And do you use the pivots for stop losses, taking profit?
I will use
entries?
the DeMark monthly, yearly, and quarterly. If it is already in a nice profit and it's hitting, like, so for example, right here, when this price hit that, if I was in this trade, right, and it's going up and up and up, the second it hits this, I would TP. Right, and that's a DeMark monthly pivot. So I really like the DeMark monthly, quarterly, and yearly for major take profit or also reversal points of interest. And as far as the traditional, lately I haven't really been paying attention to all the rest of the pivots other than the CPR. I've been looking at the daily, the weekly, and the monthly CPR. The monthly, I just kind of use the edges in the middle as points of interest. But when it comes down to reading what's going to happen for that day, the daily, or for that week, the weekly CPR.
And there's also, I want to point this out to everybody. There's also been points in which my order blocks and my charts have lots of confluence with what he's saying with the DeMark.
Absolutely. All right. So Adam. All right. So again, when you guys are looking at your coins, look for where it's had a good move up, usually better than the rest of all the coins, right? And then a consolidation, and then keep your eyes peeled for a narrow CPR. All right, so here it is again. Adam, move up, consolidation, narrow CPR, par gap. I mean, it's just, they always seem to be together, don't they? When these lines all converge, it seems to be more likely. I'm gonna test this later. It's a new theory. I love just coming up with theories and testing them. I think when all the lines are converged together, it's going to be more likely that your CPR is narrow. So here it is, and that was an obvious, nice rounded bottom on the price. You got the par gap on the par. You got the narrow CPR. It popped through the VWAP, and lo and behold, you got yourself a, what is that? A 17% move on Adam. Adam's not even a big mover at all. So here's another one where you could have maybe took a continuation trade, but the par lines weren't great. I'll admit that. And look, they weren't that great, and you also didn't get that great of a move. But here's a little consolidation, a little mini consolidation with a narrow. So this would have been a good scalp play. I bet you on the lower time frame par, that would have been set up. So you had that there. All right, so here's another consolidation, narrow CPR here. This did swoop down. They all kind of swooped down together and turned. This is also considered a narrow CPR, and the par went up, and here you go. You have another nice move in Adam. All right, so I'm going to move on to AR. And AVAX and APT and Ape. Oh, Ape's gonna be nuts. Alright. So AR, I already started looking at some stuff. I got the lines there already. Makes it easy. Although that's a really long, to me, this is not a consolidation. It is on the higher time frame. That's just a big ass downtrend. So, alright, so it popped up, right? Now the reason this CPR is not that narrow, because this kind of came down too deep. But it did create, I don't know if I would have taken that. Except for the fact that all the lines were pointing up. When you get this swoop down with all three and then it reverses, you're usually going to get a good trade. But this would have been, actually, you know what? There's a hidden bull div there. Alright, let me show you guys something. So, here is a really nice bull div on the 4 hour. Alright. Now this isn't the example that I'm looking at with the consolidation and narrow CPR so much, but this was a nice trade right here. When all three of them, this is a par gap right here too, by the way. So I'm just finding it while we're doing this other thing. But look at that par gap. All three down and oversold. And as soon as they reversed, you're in. Even if you got in here. I mean, you ended up getting a lot out of that one. So this might not have been that obvious, but you're still in this trade. Let's look for something a little bit more. They're not always going to pop out. So...
do you want to look at current price? There we go.
That's it right here.
What do you see in the future?
Well, yeah, but this made a lower high, and then, but we didn't make a lower low, so maybe it's just going to be a little ABC double bottom here. And but there's no trade yet. I mean, you guys can see that, right? The 4 hour, it's not really a bull div, so I can't really read that right now.
Makes sense.
If I can't read it, I'll just say I can't read it. But here's an example right here. Okay. So, all right, here. This is good because it broke out, right? Break a structure on the 1 hour, which is pretty good. Consolidation, and then the narrow CPR. Not a huge trade, but it was a good trade and it was fast. Right? So this is an example right here on AR. And you want to make sure that when you take the consolidation and narrow CPR, that these lines are going up. And I think they have been every time we've looked at these. But AR is really wicky, so this is kind of a tough one to trade. I think the risk reward on taking it around here wouldn't be so bad because you're below the 50 and 200. But I don't know. I can't really read it. All right, so that one didn't have a lot of examples nearby. I bet if we went back further, we could find some. Let's look at AVAX. Alright, AVAX. Let's go. September.
Have you tried screwing around with Hikinashi candles?
Yeah, I've done it a lot. And...
Not really a cup of tea?
Yeah, I just, like, this kind of reversal, I can read the reversal patterns on regular candles a lot better than Hikinashi.
And it's more accurate, yeah.
So, I mean, they're great, but I don't think most people use them. Alright, here we go. Here is a great example. Okay. So, AVAX. Boom. Alright, let's say you missed that. Oh, I missed it. I'm never getting it again. Alright, and it's going up again. Alright, so it's consolidating here. Right? Up. Wide CPR. All the lines are going down. So we're probably not going to long it this day. Right? And that's usually for the whole day. Alright, now you have the narrow CPR, which is a little hard, but this is definitely narrow. Alright, so this one, alright, here, I'm glad that this one's a kind of a fail for now, but maybe you took this here at 2382. Let's see what percentage moved, because if I'm up, it bounced off the yearly pivot. You know what? That's 3% move. I most likely would have TP'd that quick little move up on 3%, 10x. You know, I'm happy with taking 30% on TP1. All right, so on this one, I would have, 2 or 3%. I don't know exactly, but would have taken that and then got stopped out because my stop would be at break even. Now, this is kind of how I do it. A lot of people will go, oh, I got stopped out, forget it. Oh, I'm never trading this thing again. I'm so depressed, right? Well, you got stopped out, and within a couple hours, look at this, right? Like, really, really obvious bear dip. And that's the thing about getting stopped out, is a lot of times it's going to create a bull dip for you. And that is beautiful, right? And you had a big gap in here, and all three lines are going up, and you're still working off of these narrow CPR right here. All right? And so since you didn't give up and you were a fighter, you took the break of this yearly CPR, and on AVAX, which is a pretty conservative coin in my opinion, it's not like you're trading Popcat, 21% move in 2 days. So that was a really good example right there. All right, so you got the pop up. Now it's really bullish, right? Definitely a lot of buyers coming in. Consolidation. Okay. Oh, narrow CPR. But look, right? This is not ready for a long yet. Right? So you skip that one. And you let it consolidate. And here's a very narrow CPR. Okay. So, let's see. Would I get? No, you wouldn't get. No, because if you took this, your stop would be below swing low. That's usually how I work it. 26.75. So you'd be safe. This was a narrow CPR after a consolidation. Now, granted, this is messy, and the par lines are messy. And as I said in the group earlier, like an hour ago, if the par lines are messy, I usually tend to shy away from it. So I may have not taken this because of the par, but the narrow CPR still did its job. It had a nice big move up, and then it trended up. Alright, so narrow CPR reversal, right? But we're not focusing on that. Move up, break a structure. We broke all this structure here. And consolidation, kind of wide, leave it up, narrow, right? And it's narrow with that R gap. Right? So you guys can see the consistency over and over and over. And I didn't even realize it was this consistent. I mean, I did do some back testing, but now I'm doing it live with you guys, and it's like even more consistent than I even thought. So that's AVAX. We did big time AR, AVAX, APT. And then I'll look in the chat if there's more. I'm happy to be on till 10 o'clock, another 25 minutes. Maybe even a few minutes after.
I got one more for you.
Okay, what is it? I'll write it down.
Perp USDT.
Okay, yeah, no, perp. Okay.
Which is dumb. I hate that coin. Perps.
Why?
Because
perp. Because of perp USDT perp?
Yeah.
Yeah, people in crypto have been making money, but my account balance isn't going anywhere. Which coin did you buy? The United States one.
I bought the perps. Yeah, I know. but which one?
Oh, look. There was a bull div that I marked out from before. Alright, so... Alright, so here's an example. APT, I mean, this thing... Alright, here we go. Par gap. And what is this right here? Narrow CPR. Right? Now, this did not give you a chance to get in. I'll be honest, I would not have entered here, although that wouldn't have been a bad move at all. But the par lines were just, they were, there's going to be cases where you're way overbought and it still keeps going. It happens. Now, that happens way more often on just one time frame, but on 3 different time frame ribbons, that's pretty rare. But yeah, so that's,
at that point, I think just generally what's happening is that asset is completely undervalued, and so then so it runs away and it wants to find the actual fair price.
Yeah, and I mean,
and I'm sorry to interrupt and
go ahead.
interject, but go back and look at the decline of that price action before it hit that repump. So let's see here.
We could go to a higher time frame. Now I forgot where I was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's clearly at the bottom of the barrel.
It's right here.
Yeah.
All right, so you're right. You're right. That was a very good pointing out. It had a really bad downdraft. And look, you had kind of like these head and shoulder on the V's here. Look at that. Head or shoulder, head, shoulder.
Well, it's
And
also inverse head and shoulders.
That's what I mean. Yeah, inverse head and shoulders. Yeah, and then you had that narrow CPR right here, and then boom. So you're right. That's why you got such a big move out of that. Good point. All right, so let me go back to the 1 hour as APT.
So just for everybody, if you're not sure, if you're at the bottom of coin's price action, like zoom out, and it might give you a better definition of where the coin's at. As far as scraping the bottom and then looking for a reversal for a swing.
Here we go. Here's another good example. And I drew this a while back. I forgot I had it here. You had actually, you have a triple bull div here. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. 1, 2, 3 drops, right? Triple bull div, narrow CPR. All the lines are going up. Now they're pretty high, so sometimes you gotta, you gotta kind of get a little, stick your neck out a little bit with these. But that candle right there, that was the telling one right there. And
does that triple bull div mean that you would probably have taken that first narrow CPR after the first bull div?
Right here?
Like if you look at that, if you look at that chart without seeing the future, doesn't it look like something you would take?
You're right. So your entry would have been okay. Yes. Sorry.
I like to just drag the chart to the left, to the right edge, and then.
If you guys see something, definitely speak up. All right, so let's say I took that right here, right? Because you got a bull div. I'm like, oh, bull div, nice, right? And I would have been in at 783, and then pretty much immediately, I mean, there was no drawdown at all whatsoever. 783 to 834. What is that? All right, that's a 6% move. So you know I'm out TP1, maybe even a TP2 on that. And then again, we're not looking at the 1530-60, which was probably going to be a bear div at that point. Let's double check. I'll pull that in here for a second.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say was, even though that looks like realistically speaking, you would have taken that first divergence and gotten stopped out. But it's also a trade you would cover real quick.
Yeah, if I was watching here, I would have taken that. And your take profit signal would be right here, right? See how that's kind of coming down? The ribbon is coming down right here as the price went up. And then you have a reversal pattern here. And so let's say you got out at 818 on TP2, and your entry, say even at the top of the CPR, 880, what did I say, 8.18, 4.3%. Nothing wrong with that. Again, that was within 6-7 hours. So first TP out at 3%, second out at almost 5%. All right, so then you did that play, you're out, right? And now, okay, so when I see the wide CPR, I'm like, all right, let's get some sideways action, guys. So, boom, 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 boom. And it did consolidate. Let me turn off the yellow one again. It's too noisy when you're showing. All right, so Here, narrow, all the lines going up. You had your triple bull div. So this is bullish, right? All in here. This is bullish. This is bullish, right? It's messy on the price action, but you know what? It's pretty clean on the par, which is why another thing I really like about looking down here sometimes instead of the price, because people will be wondering what the heck's going on here. Anyway,
there's probably a squeeze there, by the way.
Oh, is there?
Probably. That looks like that's enough to squeeze on either the 1 hour or.
All right, good job. Yeah, boom. So more confluence, guys.
And when you see that squeeze starting, you might be able to, based on the par and the pivots, you might be able to load or reload at that very lowest orange blob. If you put I call it a stink bid, where it's just like, you know what, it's probably not going to get hit, but if it does, as soon as you see that lower orange blob appear, put a limit order like right above it. And if you get a fill down there, like you're just in profit immediately. You're basically covering your trade, taking TP1 by the time you even leave the upper orange blob.
Yeah, you got the, I mean, because if you waited until the blob was done, you should probably come up with another word. I don't know. Colon, no. But yeah, if you got in after it went away, then you're way up here. But you're right. When you see that squeeze and you already got the momentum going, you got a triple bull div here. I mean, you had a lot going on there, and that was a really nice move up. But yeah, thanks for pointing that out. But yeah, like you said, stink bids. You could put your bids on this pivot. This is the monthly pivot. This is the central monthly pivot. I mean, who would be upset about getting filled at 761, and then within 2 days you're at 921? I mean, come on. On even 10x leverage, that's a massive move. Making yourself some money there. Alright, so this is APT. Alright, I think I'm done with this one. Well, here's another consolidation. Alright, so you watch the consolidation, you watch the par, and when it starts to turn, now right in this area, you're kind of confused, right? So if you did put an order in around here, you want to make sure that it's going to follow through, and the curve up is going to be the follow through. All right. So if you put your order anywhere in here and then you have your stop below the swing low, you're fine. All right. And if you get stopped out 20-30% of the time, who cares? You know, but you get back in and look at that. You know, a nice another move right up to the yearly pivot, where is a really good place to take profit. I mean, if you are already in a good profit and it hits yearly pivot, this is quarterly pivot. Quarterly pivot, yearly pivot, take it. I mean, plus you had the 4 hour completely on the moon. I mean, this was at positive 45 on a chart that tops out at max 50. So that's APT. Here we go. After a big move.